Very good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. All the big news stories from India and across the world coming up ahead, including all the news on the budget session of Parliament. I'm Ashwarya with you. Here are the headlines first. Parliament to convene after 4-day break. Discussion in Lok Sabha on disturbances in part of Delhi. Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020 to be taken up for consideration in passing. Discussion and voting on demands for grants for 4 ministries listed in today's business. In Rajya Sabha, Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 to be taken up for consideration and return. Further discussion on Central Sanskrit University's Bill 2019 and discussion on working of 4 ministries also listed. Congress government in Madhya Pradesh in crisis after 22 MLAs resign. Senior leader Jyotiraditya Scindia exits party. Chief Minister Kamal Nath claims government will not collapse. Coronavirus cases cross 50 in India. Kerala government shuts schools, cinema houses, imposes restrictions on public events. India suspends visas for nationals of France, Germany and Spain. Indian Air Force brings back 58 Indians from Iran. And in measure to secure peace deal with Taliban, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani approves release of 1,500 Taliban prisoners in exchange for 1,000 government troops. First up, news on the budget session of Parliament, and both houses of Parliament will resume today after 4 days of break. So let us look at the legislative business in the upper house first. The National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill 2019 is listed for consideration and passing. This bill aims to provide for a medical education system that improves access to quality and affordable medical education in our country, and also promotes equitable and universal health care that makes medical services accessible to all citizens of the country. And Union Minister Shripad Yesso Naik will move the National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019, which is aimed to ensure availability of adequate and high-quality homeopathy medical professionals in the country. The bill will be moved for consideration and passing. The House will also take up the Central Sanskrit University's Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. This bill is intended to convert 3 deemed to be Sanskrit universities into Central Sanskrit Universities. And in some other legislative business, the Union Minister Arjun Munda will move amendments made by Lok Sabha in the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2019 for consideration. This bill was passed by Rajya Sabha at its sitting held on 12th of December last year and transmitted to the Lok Sabha for concurrence. The Lok Sabha at its sitting held on 11th of February this year passed the bill with amendments. Also in the upper house, Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 for consideration and return. The House is also slated to take up a discussion on the working of Ministry of Railways to be moved by TMC MP Derek O'Brien. Also, there's going to be discussion on the working of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises to be moved by DMK MP Tiruchi Siva. Also, discussion on the working of the Ministry of Law and Justice will be raised by BJP MP Bhupendra Yadav, and discussion on the working of the Ministries of Rural Development and Agriculture and Farmers Welfare will be moved by Congress MP Pratap Singh Bajwa. Let's take a look at the legislative business in the lower house. The Lok Sabha will today take up a discussion first on the recent law and order situation in some parts of the national capital. This discussion under Rule 193 will be moved by Leader of Congress in the House, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, and BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi. Also listed for consideration and passing is the Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020 that amends the Aircraft Act 1934. This bill will be moved by Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. Discussion and voting on demands for grants for 4 ministries for 2020 is also listed in today's business. These include Ministry of Social Justice, and Empowerment, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of External Affairs. All right, our colleague Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. Kriti, Parliament is going to convene after a 4-day break today, and all ours are going to be on Lok Sabha, especially because, this is a very important discussion that is going to take place in the lower house on disturbances in parts of Delhi. This issue had been, leading to several amendments, I beg your pardon, they were in the lower house as well as in the upper house, uproar caused by the opposition on this particular issue. And today this discussion is going to take place. And also, as far as the legislative business is concerned, of course, there is the aircraft amendment bill, which will be taken for consideration and passing. And of course, discussion and voting on demands for grants for ministries is also listed in today's business. How do you look at the day panning out as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned?
Well, absolutely, Aishwarya. We've seen disruptions in both houses of parliament over the issue of Delhi violence through the last week. Now, today, of course, we have the discussion under Rule 193 that would be taking place in the Lok Sabha on the issue of law and order situation in some parts of Delhi. Remember, the government had expressed willingness to discuss this issue post-Holi, and the opposition had demanded and pressed for immediate discussion. All sides, there is concurrence that all sides would endeavour to ensure that there is normalcy and peace in some parts of the national capital. So this is a very important discussion that would be initiated by Congress leader in the Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, and thereafter Meenakshi Lekhi of the BJP would continue this discussion. So all eyes would be on that discussion. And talking about the legislative agenda in the lower house, as you've mentioned, there's a very important bill, which is the aircraft amendment bill to enhance the safety and security in India's civil aviation space and also ensure that there is better coordination and efficacy of various departments, including the Director General of Civil Aviation. And also there would be discussion on demands for grants for various ministries, including the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of External Affairs, Health and Family Welfare, as well as Ministry of Tourism. So a very important day in the Lok Sabha. We've been seeing disruptions, but remember last week also Lok Sabha passed very important bills, including the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Second Amendment Bill, the Direct Taxes Vivad Se Vishwas Bill, and also the Minerals and Mines Amendment Laws. So this time also beginning this week and of course today we'll see the discussion and also other important legislative items being taken up in the lower house. Aishwarya?
And Kriti, talking about Rajya Sabha, how do you look at the day panning out as far as the upper house is concerned? Of course, there is this the direct tax Vivad Se Vishwas bill that you mentioned. Of course, that will be taken up for consideration and return in the upper house. There's also, of course, the Central Sanskrit Universities bill. There has been some discussion on this bill, but that discussion is not over as yet. And also discussion on the 4 ministries also listed. How do you look at the day panning out in Rajya Sabha?
Well, Aishwarya, even in the upper house, we've witnessed disruptions over the issue of Delhi violence, wherein the opposition pressed for immediate discussion. But remember, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu urged all political parties to ensure that there's peace and normalcy. And he also said that all sides must sit and strive to ensure that there are no such cases in future, and we need to discuss about preventive measures. So it is expected that the discussion on Delhi violence will take place in the upper house tomorrow. And talking about today's legislative agenda in the Rajya Sabha, as you've mentioned, there are important bills, including the Central Sanskrit Universities Bill for upgrading 3 deemed universities into Central Sanskrit Universities, and also the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine and National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019. Remember, these 2 bills would be discussed together to ensure that there is affordable education and also universal health coverage. Also, very importantly, there are discussions on the ministries, including the Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Ministry of Law and Justice, Ministry of Rural Development, as well as Ministry of Agriculture. So very important and heavy legislative agenda even in the upper house today. Aishwarya?
Absolutely. After a 4-day break, of course, a heavy legislative agenda in both houses, and of course that discussion under Rule 193 in the lower house, everybody really would be looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Kriti, for all those updates there from Parliament. And the BJP Central Election Committee met on Tuesday to decide on the party's candidate for the 26th of March Rajya Sabha elections. The committee met under the chairmanship of BJP President JP Nadda and was also attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Remember, elections to 55 Rajya Sabha seats that are falling vacant in April will be held on 26th of March. And the Election Commission had announced this and 13th of March is the last date for filing of nominations. And now some political news from Madhya Pradesh. Political turmoil is deepening in that state. The Congress government in the state is on the verge of collapse, with senior leader Jyotiraditya Scindia quitting the party along with 21 other MLAs on Tuesday. In his resignation letter to the Congress chief, Sonia Gandhi, Scindia said that it was time to move on as the path for the same has been drawing out over the last 1 year. He said he was unable to fulfill his purpose to serve the people and country by being in the Congress party. The resignation came after his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah in the national capital. The Congress meanwhile said that he has been expelled for anti-party activities. The three-time Lok Sabha MP took the decision to sever his ties with the Congress party on the day of his father Madhav Rao Scindia's 75th birth anniversary.
कांग्रेस पार्टी ने जिस तरह उनको अपमानित किया, जिस तरह से उनका उपयोग तो चुनाव से पहले किया, लेकिन चुनाव के बाद जिस तरह अपमान के घूंट पीकर भी वो काम कर रहे थे, लेकिन जिस तरह की भाषा दिग्विजय सिंह और कमलनाथ जी ने बोला, उन्होंने कांग्रेस को त्याग दिया है और फ्रेश स्टार्ट वो करना चाहते हैं। कांग्रेस के 20 से ज्यादा विधायक त्यागपत्र दे चुके हैं। तब इस बात से साफ दिशा दिख रही है कि कांग्रेस अल्पमत में आ गई है और ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोगों के मन में बहुत सम्मान है।
And soon after his resignation, 22 other Congress MLAs also tendered their resignations. A delegation of BJP leaders met the Assembly Speaker NP Prajapati in Bhopal and handed over the resignations of the Congress MLAs who were staying at a resort in Bengaluru.
इस्तीफे दिए गए हैं, ऐसा आप लोग सुन रहे थे और अभी तक मैं भी सुन रहा था। अब ये मेरे को सौंपे गए हैं। जो नियम कानून की प्रक्रिया होती है, जो स्थापित नियम विधानसभा के हैं, तदनुसार मैं इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई सुरक्षित करूंगा और ये आप सभी माननीय सदस्यों ने मुझे प्रेषित किया है।
And both BJP and Congress held meetings of their legislative wings on Tuesday evening. And at the meeting of the Congress Legislature Party held at the residence of Chief Minister Kamal Nath, around 100 MLAs, including 4 independents, were present. And then after the meeting, Kamal Nath asserted late Tuesday night that there was no threat to his government.
विशेषकर अहंकार, भ्रष्टाचार इसका मूल कारण है। जिस तरीके से अहंकारी तरीके से कमलनाथ जी मुख्यमंत्री के पद का संचालन कर रहे थे और जिस प्रकार का भ्रष्टाचार हो रहा था, उससे आम कार्यकर्ता, आम विधायक अपने आप को ठगा सा महसूस कर रहे थे और सोच रहे थे कि कल कांग्रेस का भविष्य क्या होगा। और केंद्रीय नेतृत्व के प्रति भी कांग्रेसियों में काफ़ी गुस्सा है।
So let's take a look at the numbers here. Well, the Congress party has 114 MLAs in the 230-member assembly, while the BJP has 107 members. 2 seats are currently vacant. After the resignations, now the Congress party is reduced to 92. 4 independent MLAs, 2 BSP MLAs and 1 Samajwadi Party MLA are now supporting the Congress-led government, which takes their tally to 100 seats, which is still 5 seats less than the halfway mark in the assembly. And in Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Don't go anywhere.
Afghanistan, Taliban, US deal has taken place. How do you look about this deal?
Kazakhstan welcomed and supported this deal. The government and the Taliban, they should sit at the table and let's continue these negotiations.
What makes Kazakhstan to be so attracted to India?
Bilateral relations we are enjoying now.
You are in the region that has been very infamous for some time because of terrorism in some parts of Central Asia, specifically in Afghanistan. What is the situation in your country?
Kazakhstan is a big supporter of counter-terroristic all the initiatives in the world. So we have a initiative of the Code of Conduct.
Watch Indian Standard Time. Exclusive interview of Yerlan Alimbayev, Ambassador of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Tuesday, 10 p.m. Wednesday, 10 a.m. Only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now an update on the situation as far as the crisis hit Yes Bank is concerned. Well, the bank said on Tuesday that the customers could now make payments towards their credit cards and loans through other bank accounts. The bank said that its ATMs are fully up now and the customers can withdraw the stipulated amount from other banks' ATMs as well. In a tweet, the bank said on Tuesday that inward IMPS or NEFT services have now been enabled. The announcement comes as a panic gripped the bank's customers who queued before ATMs and bank branches to withdraw their money. Last Thursday, the Reserve Bank of India, remember, had put a moratorium on the cash-strapped Yes Bank. It had imposed withdrawal restrictions of 50,000 rupees only till 3rd of April and superseded its board through appointment of an administrator. Now an update on the coronavirus situation in our country. The total number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in India now stands over 50, with fresh cases reported in Kerala, Karnataka and Pune on Tuesday. The Union Health Ministry on Tuesday asked people to refrain from travelling to China, Italy, Iran, Korea, Japan, France, Spain and Germany and advised them to avoid non-essential travel abroad in view of the coronavirus outbreak. The government has also stepped up tougher border control measures to combat the COVID-19 outbreak as the number of patients is rising, mostly from travel history to the affected countries. The fresh restrictions, both for outbound and inbound travel, now include major European countries, including France, Spain and Germany. Remember, India had already suspended the visas granted to the nationals of Italy, Iran, South Korea, Japan and China. Meanwhile, the state of Kerala is on high alert, with 14 people from the state testing positive for coronavirus by Tuesday night. The state government announced restrictions on all public events till 31st of March, including shutting schools up to class 7 and the closure of cinema halls as well. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan held a cabinet meeting yesterday and said that at least 1,116 people in the state are under observation. The Kerala government has also closed the Periyar Tiger Reserve for tourists till 31st of March, following government's advisory on self-quarantine to passengers coming from coronavirus-affected areas. Pinarayi Vijayan also said that with the hill temple at Sabrimala set to reopen on 13th of March, monthly pujas can be held, but at this juncture, devotees should avoid darshan. Meanwhile, the military transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force brought back 58 Indians from coronavirus hit Iran on Tuesday. The aircraft, a C-17 Globemaster, was sent to Tehran on Monday evening. About 2,000 Indians are living in Iran, a country that has witnessed increasing number of coronavirus cases in the last few days. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar tweeted after Indian aircraft landed, mission completed, on to the next. He added that thanks to the efforts of our embassy and the Indian medical team there operating under challenging conditions, thank you Indian Air Force. Appreciate cooperation of Iranian authorities. We are working on the return of other Indians stranded there. And globally, the coronavirus situation remains grim, with the deadly virus claiming over 4,000 lives across the world. In China's Hubei province, the epicenter of the coronavirus, 22 new deaths have been reporting, taking the death toll there to 3,158 in the entire country of China. Chinese President Xi Jinping, who on Tuesday made his first visit to Wuhan city, said that it had turned the tide against the deadly coronavirus. Meanwhile, in Iran, the new coronavirus killed 54 more people, raising the death toll there to 291 amid 8,042 cases in the Islamic Republic. It represented an 18% increase in deaths from the day before and 12% more confirmed cases. Across the region, there are over 8,600 confirmed cases of the virus. And Italy reported 463 deaths in just over 2 weeks due to coronavirus. Nationwide travel restrictions have been imposed till 3rd of April to try to stop the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, Turkey announced on Tuesday its first coronavirus case, a man who had recently traveled to Europe. Turkey's health minister informed that the man contracted COVID-19 and called on Turkish citizens to avoid traveling abroad if possible. And Panama's health minister has also confirmed 8 cases of the new coronavirus in the country, including 1 death, the first virus-related death in Central America. A 64-year-old man who was already suffering from diabetes complications died of COVID-19 virus, while the other 7 people who tested positive ranged in the age from 29 to 59. All but 1 had recently travelled abroad. Meanwhile, a British MP Nadine Dorries, a minister in the health department, has also tested positive for coronavirus and is self-isolating at home. Health officials are now trying to trace where she contracted the virus and who she had been in contact with. 6 people, remember, have died in Britain from the virus, with the 373 confirmed cases. Let's get you some international news now. The United Nations Security Council on Tuesday unanimously approved a United States resolution on the recent deal between the US and the Afghan Taliban, a rare endorsement of the agreement with the militant group. The US military, remember, has begun withdrawing troops as part of the pull-out agreement that was agreed as part of a pact on 29th of February. In the resolution, the Security Council urged the government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan to advance the peace process, including by participating in the intra-Afghan negotiations through a diverse and inclusive negotiating team comprised of Afghan political and society leaders, including women. Meanwhile, the Afghan government has agreed to release the 1,500 Taliban prisoners as a gesture of goodwill starting Saturday. Another 3,500 will be freed after the negotiations begin. The Taliban had demanded the release of the prisoners as a confidence-building measure to pave the way for the opening of direct talks with the Afghan government. And now let's talk about environment and climate change. According to a report by McKinsey Global Institute, climate change and global warming could have effect on India's GDP. The impact of global heating on outdoor work and the resultant loss in productivity could put 2.5% to 4.5% of India's GDP at risk annually. The sectors at greater risk include agriculture, mining, manufacturing, hospitality, and transport. Unless there is an effective decarbonization within 10 years, 160 to 200 million people in India might be exposed to lethal heat waves and temperatures exceeding survivability threshold. Heat and humidity would affect labor productivity, with the workers needing more breaks and the human body naturally limiting its efforts to prevent non-exertion. Overexertion. In case greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, urban areas in parts of India and Pakistan could be the first places in the world to experience heat waves that exceed the survivability threshold. sports news now. Indian boxers Vikas Krishan and Simranjeet Kaur have advanced to the finals at the Asian Olympic qualifiers going on in Amman in Jordan on Tuesday. Krishnan will now face Esihat Hussain in the final of the 69 kg category, and Simranjeet Kaur will face a former two-time Asian champion Oh Yeon-ji of South Korea in the 60 kg category. Meanwhile, in some other categories, MC Mary Kom in 51 kg, Amit Pangal in 52 kg, Lovlina Borghain in 69 kg, Pooja Rani in 75 kg, Ashish Kumar in 75 kilograms, and Satish Kumar in 91 kg category had to settle for bronze medals. So far in the competition, Indian boxers have cemented 8 Olympic berths. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great day ahead.